All right, in the last video, we went through and started looking at just doing some basic data entry and formula writing, and just a few things to kind of keep noted. What we're going to end up doing is I'm going to zoom out of this just a little bit here to open up this spreadsheet. We're going to make some room to put in areas for the mean, the mode, the standard deviation, the minimum, median, maximum, and the range. So over here, I'm going to go ahead and skip a column just so that way we can have that. And I'm going to go for here in about cell, let's say E3. I'm going to go ahead and type mean, mode, and then if you notice, we're going to leave a couple cells blank there, standard deviation, and then we're going to end up putting P, so for the population, the minimum, the median, the max, and the range. So in this case, I'm going to double click anytime I want these to kind of size up to whatever's text in there. I'm going to go up here to the letter E. So right next to the column, I'll get this double arrow kind of icon. If I double click on that, it'll automatically size it up there. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to say equals. So go up here to cell F3, and with the mean, the one that's next to it, I'm going to type the equal sign, and I can go to put in a formula. Now, one of the things that I could also do, so as well as not also type the equal sign, but I also go up here to the formulas tab, and then go ahead and say insert function, so the f of x button, and find there's actually most recently used or most commonly used. I can also put in an average. So if I hit the insert button, that'll put the average in there, and it's going to ask me for what kind of numbers that I want to choose. So here you'll see that equals average gets thrown in, and it's wanting me to select a range. So here I'm going to select the average. I want to make sure to grab cell C5 to C16. I do not want to grab the sum in there, so be careful as you're selecting. And I just want the raw data, not the sum of all that. And then when I hit enter, or if I go through and looks like looks like I can add numbers there. I'm going to go ahead and take away the two numbers. I think my screen's getting cut off just here a little bit, but I can go ahead and kind of put that in there and say done, and there will be my mean value. So that's the formula builder. Let me go ahead and drag this back over. I can also end up doing equals. I usually like utilizing this shortcut, and if I start typing mode, notice that MOD and then it has mode.mult, excuse me, and mode SNGL. So what this means, this is multimodal data sets, and this is for a single mode. So we could have more than one mode. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on the multimodal. I'm going to choose our data set, again, making sure just to get the C5 to C16. Here we have 5.5, but if I look at dragging the little filler down, I'll get 5.75, and then if I drag it down one more, notice how I get a repeating number. So anytime I see a repeating number, that means I've exhausted all the modes that can exist. So I'm going to get rid of that repeating number, and that's where I'm seeing that 5.5 and 5.75. Okay, standard deviation for the population equals STDEV. Now you'll see down here in your functions, STDEV.P is what we're looking for, the population. That means that we're accounting for every population or every person or every item as we're going along. So whereas a sample means we're just doing a small sample of what the population is representing. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that. That's going to give me a pretty large standard deviation. I'm going to format all these here in a little bit. So I can do min for the minimum value, and all it's going to do is it's going to pick out the minimum value out of that particular case, 4.75. Median is a formula that shows up there. So I can double click into the median, select my data set. It'll calculate for me. Max, MAX. Select, it's going to pick out the highest number out of the data set, and then as I go to take a look, my range. Now there's not a range formula, so if you start to type range, it's not going to go through and give you anything. So what I usually do is I write a formula. So I'll see equals, I'll click on the maximum cell, I'll type the minus key, and then I'll type the minimum, and then when I hit enter, that'll go through and give me my range. So there's not a range one, but it's a pretty easy one to do. So as I take a look, I'm going to end up going to formatting this data. So again, I'm going to highlight all these cells at once. I'm going to go to format cells. And in the format cells, I want to go to number. And looks like here they're going out to 3 decimal places, which will show you the example there in the sample box. I'll say OK. and then it will go through and complete the rounding as such for that particular one. So there's doing some of the summary statistics and utilizing some of the formulas that to use that. But that's really kind of what we're looking for, is you're going to create a simple formula, even they say, to calculate the range and things like that. So our next step will be we're going to create class intervals. We'll cover this in the next video. Class intervals for the bins, so to create a histogram, and we're going to use something called the data analysis tool pack to kind of help us do that. But that's kind of what we're looking for so far in this activity.